Okay, here we go, going live in 3, 2, 1, and we are probably on. Let me just mute it. So there's a really obnoxious thing is when it launches it, it also starts playing it in the background, which makes for a lot of annoying noise, but we are good. Okay. All right. So yes, we had a little audio episode, and then Tom has lots of family activities going on. He may or may not jump on later, but as you suggested, it might be useful for us to go and look at, or we was going to try and meet without him, and I suggested we look at what he had written up on Valplan to see if we can make sense of it, which is a good test of the user interface, among other things. So this is the, I think, Datocracy committee in earnest, which I love the pun there. Starting Datocracy as an exercise, lists and reports. I see 10 terms, 59 specifications, and 1 value decision table. So let's see what we can see here.
So is this like a template, or that Tom has started for us, or what?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure. That's one of the things we need to figure out. And it's I was kind of hoping to walk through it with him, but this is kind of a fun exercise to see what we can figure out without his active participation, merely by looking at the document. So these are some tagged words and synonyms. I'm not sure if I can understand this without some context. Top level values to architecture table. This sounds intriguing. Wow. Derivatives. This seems profound, but I think too much for me to digest it one shot. Let's look at these specifications. Okay, this sounds like this might be pulling into his larger Datocracy mindset, which is mind-blowing and somewhat overwhelming. This is the planning committee here that we have to go for. Okay, here we go. This actually looks intriguing because this feels like, this is about us explicitly. This is the EET. And then this has 4 specifications. So let me, and these feel like the things that he was talking about and worked on, trying to create a more rigorous version of kind of the 4 values that I proposed with clear labels. So let's start with this one here, transparency of Datocracy development process. And okay, this ambition level, all decisions will honor the perspectives of everyone on the committee. So he was willing to work with my vague word perspectives on the high level, sort of ambition level.
Ambition level of the definition, or?
So I think this is, if I understand correctly, this is part of the development process objectives. Is that where we started here? Or that's something else here? No, this is part of something else. So let's see what is development process objectives. That would be a useful thing to see. Okay. This seems like this is just at this point, just a category, although it's got all this machinery around it. These 4, okay, so this is a sort of, I'm assuming this is kind of a collection of some, that this is a, I was curious, is this a different way of viewing it? That just gets into the very large one, which overwhelms me. So let's just go back here. So, can I go there? Yes. Okay. So there are 4 development process objectives. So I think the idea is there's many objectives at many different levels. And this is the level of what is our development process? And then the process of developing decisions, I think, is that they should satisfy these 4 objectives. So that's the context of this thing here. And one is that the process is transparent. Okay, transparency feels like a bit, this feels more like what I was calling inclusivity, that decisions honor the perspectives of everyone on the committee, but he may have a reason here that is too subtle for me to grasp at the moment. But the idea is that these are the stakeholders. Okay, so the thing that I was looking before is our stakeholders. This is, I think, the 3 of us, the EET, okay, I'm understanding that now, this concept of a stakeholder, because that's important. And then there's an ambition here. This is, I wonder if this is editable. We're in viewing mode here. Oh, this is authoring mode, okay. So I could change this to inclusivity.
Even though that term was kind of like ambiguous. No, it is ambiguous. Like we
have. The ways is that this is the tag that we are using to describe this objective.
That we can change later.
Yeah, we can change later. So the idea is that at least this is what I was calling inclusivity, was that that we honor the perspectives of everyone on the committee. This may be the wrong term, or there may be something, but again, if this is at least, it seems like that's what he's going here, is that, so % of questions unanimously approved by the committee which are available to plan audience. So the idea is we ask some questions which capture our perspective. And then this leads to unanimous approval. So at least I think I know what he's getting to here. And I think this matches our idea of inclusivity, but maybe when we understand some of these other pieces, we'll get a more, like, I wonder if, okay, that's just editing it here, so I can't. But if I shift back to viewing mode, and if I look at, okay, so these words are precise terms that he is defining somewhere, right? Like, I don't think I can, these are quite hyperlinks. Oh no, here it is, right there. Approved is, okay, it seems like this may be something that he actually defined elsewhere, because it's very general and robust. Votes on, voted on, recorded, unanimity, dissent, dissent recorded. Okay, so that there's this concept of approval, which is categorized by these other terms. The plan audience, again, these are different scopes. I think that's a good point. Like, we have the committee members here, which is our first thing, but then we can imagine having a larger movement, which is not just us, general public, experts. Okay, interesting. I wonder again if this is something he made up, in which case, I mean, he's so prolific, right? He writes like 3 books a summer or something. So maybe he actually just wrote all this in the last week, which is, comments here.
7 days ago.
Sorry?
Well, there's this source, TG, Tom Green, at least he commented on this 7 days ago.
Yeah, so at least he compiled this last week. Okay, so I guess I forgot how to change my name on my profile, but there's this idea of, okay, I think I understand, and I think this reflects my value of inclusivity. This reflects what I called inclusivity rather than transparency. That edit. Label it because I'm not comfortable that you can tell which one is which, although Ernie is only slightly less ambiguous than glibtest 18. So the plan audience, questions. I guess that's the category of things that can be approved. And then unanimously, very approved. Okay, so it feels a bit pedantic to me. But then again, Tom has actually had way more experience than I have, which is why he feels that this level of detail is useful. And I don't have any objection to it, since again, we just can use the top level term and there's all this rich semantics underneath it, which is fascinating. Okay, so I think I understand what he's saying here. And again, he's not getting terribly technical, but he is being, I wouldn't say terribly, but it's, he is being painfully precise. Okay, did I just jump into a different mission level source?
Yeah, I think you switched to something else, right?
Some more elegant version of this, which I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I don't want to derail this, but I had a more fundamental issue with. I was talking about the definition of the thing. We're going through the process, but we haven't defined what this is. Like, we don't have a definition. We just say there's a word, and then we have a process, but there's no statement of what this thing is. At least, a starting definition.
So which thing is, sorry?
Datocracy. Like, if anybody comes and sees that term for the first time, they're going to Google it. I Googled it and I came up with the, I'm sorry. If somebody comes with this definition, they want to say, oh, datocracy sounds like, or we also said, I think we said that we are datocrats. So this kind of sounds like, what is it, technocrat? And so those, a technocrat is somebody who uses technology to govern and to,
well, I think actually probably a better definition of technocrat, the way the Order term is used, is that they try to make decisions about how to govern based on particular techniques, and therefore, which they improve via technology, rather than based on ideology. Right, so their loyalty is to a technique rather than to an idea. So that's kind of, I think, where the word technocrat came from. And it's often used in a derogatory sense, I think.
Yeah.
But the idea that, the way that I look at it as, is there is, in some sense, we are a kind of technocrat, right? In the sense that we are, at least the way I'm visualizing it, is that while there are a lot of values that are behind datocracy, the way that we can tell people are adherents of datocracy is not because they stand up and swear on a Bible that they uphold these values, but because they actually commit to following these practices or techniques. At least that's kind of how I think about it. This is a good point of discussion that we can have.
Say that again, sorry.
Should I repeat what I said? Did you understand what I was?
Yeah, I was doing something else.
Okay, so I would say that, okay, so if we go with the idea that a technocrat is someone who is defined by the techniques they follow, the technical way they approach a problem, a datocrat, I think, is someone who's defined in a similar way by, as a kind of technocrat, in that we have values, we have an ideology, but we're really ideological about the process we follow.
Yeah, and the data.
Right, and specifically, it's the way that we handle data, the kind of data we collect, and the way that we treat that data. So in that sense, a datocrat is a kind of technocrat. So it's a subset of technocrat. And, but what's interesting about it is not just that we say we care about data, but we actually have a formal process that we hold ourselves accountable to for how we collect and process data in making decisions.
So we have to write this, right? This right here, we have to write it down and say, this is our starting point, not our mantra, but this is where we start from. And then we can deviate.
Right, and I mean, let's, like you say, so that, I think that's a good way, is that this is the ambition level is that the objectives listed here are our starting point for the list of practices that Datocrats follow when making something like that.
Yes. Yeah, that objectives is here on the practices that practices and facts, or data, but information or knowledge.
Or how about when follow in using data to something like that, in using data to make better decisions.
Better than what?
Good point. Decisions.
Yeah, just decisions. You don't have to.
Service to a particular population, audience.
Community.
Sure, community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is like I said, it's a subset of technocrat, and we use certain techniques.
Well, yeah, and the point is that, like, so the committee is us, community is us, the committee, but hopefully the larger movement, this will. Movement. I mean, yeah, there's a, I guess there's a separate thing, which is that, again, this is by definition not a public document, right? This is the one of.
What do you mean?
I mean, like, because this is embedded in Valplan. Oh, hello, Tom is here. Maybe he can address this, and we can catch him up. And I'll be curious whether we're actually correctly intuiting his intent, or whether we've gone off the rails somewhere. Tom, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you for squeezing us in amidst your busy social calendar in the middle of the night.
Yeah. It's only, of course, 9:45 here.
All right.
PM.
Do you have to run off somewhere after this, or do you have like a half hour, an hour to spend?
I can spend half an hour now, and
Okay.
my wife is trying to put some food on the table, and there are other things happening, but I think it's best to just do it and prioritize it. Otherwise,
All right, thank you. Feel free if you need to mute and eat in the middle. I've certainly had to do that with my share of Zoom calls.
yeah.
All right, so I think we're going to start with this page here, as this specifies out kind of the, I think this is sort of like the criteria or the objectives for what we would call a Datocratic process. Is that close to the intent?
You're asking me?
Like, yeah, I found this document here called Development Process Objectives, which
Right.
feels like the right level for us to start with.
Okay, so yeah, right. So it's a set of objectives. So it consists of inclusivity, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Those are our four. Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
So,
good. We're in the right place here.
So the detail is in the consists of.
Right. That's fair. I think what Ernest and I were kind of wrestling with is if we could at least have some scope or statement here to kind of clarify what it is that this document is about. And that's where I was playing around, which I made as a comment. I don't know if there's a way if I should be turning that into a formal ambition level, or if just an informal comment is sufficient for now. I guess there is a. So I guess one thing that Ernest was asking for was like, well, we haven't even defined what we mean by datocrat or datocracy. And I could see how it would be useful to enter that somewhere. Is the ambition level here a good place to put that?
Well, it's a good place to put what you mean by development process objectives. In other words, what the ambition level has to sort of match up with that tag. So, so this is you could call this your primary development objectives, just to put in a something rather.
And so the word development objectives is a bit throwing me a little bit for a loop. Could you, it sounds like that's a term of art that you use.
Okay. I'm thinking of the development process on the way to Datocracy, even if it's a 100-year process.
Okay.
And so these are the objectives for the process itself, not for Datocracy, but for the process of getting to Datocracy.
Right. Okay. I see. And I think it's useful that you called that out, because I think that in my mind, I see them as sort of a similar bootstrappy kind of a thing. But I think like there's two senses of the word Datocracy we're playing with here, right? One is an actual political governmental system that works for a population that's like their primary means of collective decision making. And that's where you have, like, I think all these other values that you need to understand in that larger societal context, let's say. And then there's sort of, let's call that macro Datocracy. And then there's sort of micro Datocracy, which is any random group of people can do this in a way that embodies certain values. Yep. And so maybe the ambition level is to practice Datocracy at the micro level, bootstrap, within the committee. And this is maybe not the right thing to be a ambition level. Let me just write down the thing I'm saying, and we can, you can refine it.
By the way, there's an opportunity to define anything you like, including Datocracy now, and put it in our glossary. So what you do is you put hashtags around the words you want to define. So put a hashtag around Datocracy, both sides.
Mm-hmm. And the committee you already defined somewhere, right? You have a thing.
I forget without checking it, but we
have this thing, Datocracy Planning Committee.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's defined. The moment there's a tag, then everything below that is the definition of that. But I'm thinking of defining. So go back to where we were.
Yeah. Okay.
And okay. So notice it says right below now, because you put that in square brackets, you got a little Datocracy defined as.
Right.
Now, you can draft a definition there. It doesn't matter if we have to change it or refine it, but put some kind of a definition in there.
Right. Did you have one somewhere, Ernest, that you were using in Fleep?
No, well, it was, what we came up with right now is more complete. The other one is more like, okay, there's technocrat. So what is a datocrat in comparison to a technocrat? So
right.
we
well,
decided that a datocrat.
Let's just take, let's not get into datocrat, because that falls. We need to define that word, which is there, which is Datocracy.
Right.
Yeah.
And any definition will do for the moment, because it's easy enough to change as we review it and the practice of using. Yeah. Okay.
Is it a process or a practice? Well, it's not the same. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it could be either one, but and we can even define those. But let me just show you how to get words in the glossary. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, now pin that down. That blinking floppy disk you need to save. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the wrong.
There you go. Well, now you have a defined term in your glossary. So for the moment you can, and it's got a definition. Where'd the definition go? That's funny. I think because you went a little bit too fast here. Yeah, okay.
I need to save it
now
first?
do that again. No. I mean, it should work. I think you just click that one. That's
okay.
Right. Yeah, that worked. I was just a little bit too fast for the. Okay,
Can I
so
grab a link to our current video. Would that be?
well, okay, yeah.
Sources.
Yeah, but
give me a second. I'm fighting
Yeah.
my Zoom here.
And
Sorry about that.
okay,
Okay, here we go.
so you can click the create button. That'll create it in your glossary. Now, if you go to the more at the top on the blue there, more, and it says glossary. That's it. So there we go.
Oh, there we are, and the word committee is already defined there. Great.
Yeah.
In this
and
context, committee means this Datocracy committee, so we don't have to keep defining that or using the long form of
well,
it.
now, literally, strictly speaking, you've just defined what you mean by committee with a capital C. And
I
if
did.
you
I defined that.
No, Tom Gilb did on October 29th.
Okay, you defined it, right? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Gotcha.
But you could separately define Datocracy committee as a special type of committee if you wanted to.
Okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that definition. That works for me.
But now you see our glossary here. So
Yes.
this is a glossary of terms, whereas you have a second kind of glossary. Everything you have it tagged on is itself a defined term. In other words, if you want to go back to where we were, yeah. So development process objectives, that tag, everything below that is a definition. The whole set of information there defines one way or another the development process objectives. So that's sort of a reserved word too.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are two lines of definition: an explicit general definition of a word, a couple words, and then the definition of what a tag means.
Right. And do we need to explicitly include the Datocracy committee as a stakeholder in this?
Yeah, if in doubt, put it in and ask. There you go. And then, ask the assembled committee here if they believe in that.
Okay. And there's roles here. That's interesting. Authority, decision maker, owner. I guess owner is the simplest role. I guess, you can have multiple ones.
You can have multiple ones, yeah.
Okay, cool. And then do I have to do anything to save it, or it auto saves with the check? Check mark means it auto saves.
It saves when you go to a new field. So if you push your
Change the focus.
tab button, or push the blinking floppy disk.
Okay, but then I can assume this is saved and I can click around.
Yeah, you can assume it's saved. If it isn't blinking, it's saved.
Okay, good. All right, so Ernest, you wanted to get a definition. Do we have enough of a definition now that we can move forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so I can see the value of having this level of precision and rigor in pushing us to be precise and coherent and collect things in a way. So I'm enjoying this process now that I've got over the initial hump of being completely disoriented.
So using this, introspecting ourselves, right now, we can say that one of our principles is exactness. Have we said that?
That looks like this one here, quantified engineering rigor, right? I think that's
rigor is exactness. Is rigor.
So that's good. So this is. I think that's an interesting point. Is that so? Is there a place under synonyms, or?
Yeah, there's room for synonyms.
Where would I put that?
You put it up on the tag up the top, and then you put after rigor. I think you put a colon, and then you put a synonym.
So like in here.
After rigor, yeah, in there.
After you get into editing.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and then put like exactness as a synonym, like that.
I guess so. I hope that works. One way to find out, isn't there? Yeah. I would put a space. I don't know, for readability before the E in exactness, but something like that. Yeah, I don't know why. But that probably
And
works.
if I go back to here, I'll see the objectives. Okay, well, it just sort of concatenates them, right? It's not doing anything fancy where it's creating a separate synonym somewhere, is it? It's just, that's just a convention for how we summarize that. Okay. So Ernest, you brought up the issue of exactness. Let's look at this definition here.
What am I looking at?
This is the definition. This is a value objective around exactness, also known as quantified engineering rigor.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm seeing that. All right. I mentioned that final proof objectives and strategies will ultimately specify. Okay, there's some sort of grammar here. I guess final approved objectives and strategies will be ultimately specified with engineering rigor, quantified conditions, engineering rigor, quantified conditions specified, dates and costs accounted for, and relations to other levels quantified. Okay, yeah, that sounds
Can I
pretty.
add a list in here somehow, like bullet points? Is there a way to do that, Tom, or is that violating this?
Sorry, what did you want to include?
I want to be like doing something like bullet points, just so I can more easily like this. Is that
Yeah, no problem. You can just do bullet points there.
Just do like stars or whatever.
Option 8 work.
Option. Make it more bullet-y. Yay.
Yeah, so we're specifying and quantifying, well, not quantifying, but at least specifying.
Here we go.
We manage concepts like exactness.
Oh, there we go.
We're not, using a dictionary definition, but what we think exactness is. So engineering rigor.
I wonder if I probably want to add the precise definitions because I don't think we actually said that here.
Yeah, but that's that include all that.
Quantified feels like an adjective. Quantified outcomes.
Yeah. So, or how about measurability, which is Tom's terminology, that things that you can measure. So it has to be around that measurable results, or things that you can measure to be able to use in other things, like 100%, 50%, or number of days, or adding an attribute that can be quantified and specifying how to measure those things. I don't know if that's one thing or separate things. But one thing is you specify, okay, we're going to measure this in meters, right? And then another thing is success is that this item is 50 meters or longer. I don't know. So
right. So the idea of quantified, can I call that quantifiable? Would that feel more?
I think I think, and that's another thing. So quantifiable, what does that mean? We can define it kind of here, what we mean by it, right? Which may or may not override the dictionary concept or the dictionary definitions. But I guess at this point, we're not worried about that. We just want to specify
if you're comfortable with it, I think the rule of thumb is if we're comfortable with it, we leave it as it is. If we're not sure, we should define it.
Yeah, but by we, I know we're just.
Do you feel like you know what it means? And do you feel like we would agree with you? And if you're not sure, we should define it.
I think we should define it.
Okay, so you want to define that. Okay, so I think if I save this, it'll automatically give me a little, there we go. Yeah, ooh, magic, cool. So quantifiable, so is straightforward to
measure,
reduce to a numeric
Can I interject
Sure.
the point? Quantification and all related things is merely a tool to achieve several higher purposes, one of which is clarity. The other is actually rigorous logical thought. Okay. And there are other things like prioritization and evaluation, analysis, discussion, communication. So I view it as a technical device which enables us to do many good things in planning.
Mm. And later it could be like something that can be computed and, like you said,
Yes.
analyzed and processed.
Yeah, absolutely. I sort of forgot that, but that's very important. The fact that you can compute. I do computation of automatic priority using these numbers.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So Ernest, is this definition sufficient to address your concern?
Yes. You can, this is me being pedantic. You can take the in order out of there. Not two, no, the two remain, the two stay, but
Okay.
in order, yeah, that's, there you go.
Right. Okay. Not the most elegant division I've had, but it works. Okay. Precise definition. Okay, condition specified. I didn't actually understand what that meant. Could you?
But by the way,
elaborate?
notice what you have not done. You've not made a decision to put this in your glossary. It is local to this specification at the moment.
Mm.
Ah, okay. Okay, is it
That-
worth doing? Is it worth putting in the glossary?
Yes.
Is there a rule of thumb for when to keep it local and when to put it in the glossary?
Your intuition is fine here. If in doubt, put it in the bigger glossary.
It feels like we're going to want to use this word again, or that it's an important concept.
You'd think so. Yeah, you'd think so.
Okay.
And you can make a bet on it, but I mean, no harm is done by putting it there, really.
Okay, yeah. Cool. This phrase condition specified. I don't really know what that means. I could make some random guesses. Should I try and guess and define it, or do you want to just tell us what you intended, Tom?
Yeah. There's more of chewing some fish.
Yes.
Okay. When we define primarily scales of measure, it is, I make quite a lot of use of a thing I call qualifiers. And I'll give a simple example: percentage of a certain type of people, that's one qualifier, and then doing a certain type of activity, that's another qualifier. Now, certain type of people, let's take it real elementary, male and female, okay? So the male and female are two of the conditions. So all of the qualifiers are defined by a set of conditions. So the activities could be work and play. Take a simple example, those would be two conditions. And we use those. It's a very powerful, surprisingly powerful technique that almost nobody's ever documented, but it helps us deal with very large complex systems like Datocracy is inevitably going to be, with the whole world politics. And it helps us decompose very large complex systems into smaller slices that get done early, like just the Los Angeles mayoral vote, to take a slice of something. So yeah, so that's what conditions are. When you say the goal is 50% by 2025, then and you add for the Los Angeles mayoral election, those are your two conditions. The 50% applies to the Los Angeles mayoral election and nothing else. It pins it down very precisely. This is part of being precise, actually, also. So that's what now at some point you can read about conditions under qualifiers. In my writings, it's all over the place. And I can also discuss it with you or present it to you more formally. We'll bump into it soon enough.
Okay. So this is a case where I'm defining it here. I imagine this is probably defined somewhere in the larger glossary, right?
I'm not sure. I mean, in a way, you have to look and see.
And is there a quick way to do that?
Yeah, go up to more and glossary and look alphabetically for conditions.
Isn't this our glossary here?
Yep.
And so if it's not
It's
in
not
here,
there.
is there
It's
a larger glossary that I can inherit or cross-check or import from?
Yeah.
Not really.
Let me say no here. There are
Okay.
larger glossaries, but let me get that's not what you're asking. So the answer is we have not got our definition there.
Okay. So we'll just do that in our definition. So which is back over here, I think. Yeah.
But that was a quick way of checking. Have we already defined it?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And I'm doing there's some auto.
That's right.
No, not there.
No.
I probably should, let me try toggling in here. Maybe that'll do a save and refresh of the cache. Yep, that did it. Great.
Yeah.
And once I link it in there, presumably if someone edits it, if we edit it here, it'll link to that unique identifier, right? It won't be.
Yeah. So by the way, there's a little convention we haven't mentioned here. If you use capital letters or the system forces capital letters on you in the words, that means this is a formally defined term somewhere in some glossary. If I use the word condition with a small c, you can guess any way you want, but there is no formal definition to look for.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. So I feel like, so we have, going back to our top level summary here, which actually let's move to the front, otherwise I'll lose it. We have inclusivity, exactness, tamper-proof development history, unanimous committee agreement. This feels like a plausible, concrete. So let me see. Let me talk about this one here. It does feel like, let me express the tension I am feeling, and then you can tell me whether this is something worth worrying about at this stage. So when I look at unanimous committee agreement, I think I have an intuitive sense of what that means. And let's see what it says here. Okay, this is where I'm getting confused a bit, because the ambition level here feels like the ambition level I had over here, right? No, here, the inclusivity thing. So is that a bug or a feature that these two different objectives have the same ambition level? Like, is it a good thing or a bad? Does it mean that is that a sign that we are reifying this one abstract statement into two separate concrete objectives? Is that a good thing? Or does it mean that our thinking is kind of fuzzy? And Tom may be chewing now, so I'll give him a minute if he needs to unmute. And
I didn't realize I moved to the office, so right. It's a bad thing.
Okay.
Because it really is. You haven't quite made up your mind. Two identical ambition levels should really amount to the exact same thing. Put it that way. Two identical ones. Yeah.
So there should be a process of, we need to. It's like conflict resolution. Like
exactly, Ernest. We need a little conflict resolution. We just need to think about what we mean. Now, okay. So can I get a look at, and maybe Ernest also get a look at each one and think about it for a moment? What are the two? The inclusivity and the unanimous committee agreement. And then all decisions shall honor. Okay, now it's flopping back and forth so fast. You're going to get both. Hey, tricky. Good, well done. Okay, so let me look at the ambition level. All decisions will have a perspective are in the committee. And all okay, so clearly. Did I do that? I hope not. Let's see.
And there may have been a copy and paste glitch in there somewhere when you were creating this.
Yeah. Okay. All decisions will honor.
Okay. This may be where I messed up, in that I think you originally had transparency here, and when I saw that ambition level, I changed that to inclusivity, and that may be where I glitched, because I think that the all decisions on the perspective, that probably is more around here on the right side of the unanimous committee agreement, and this might be a different point entirely.
Okay, well, here's where we have to think clearly, and can we take one of them and work on it, and then we'll trash the other or edit it?
I would like to propose we leave the unanimous committee agreement as there with an ambition level and rewrite this ambition level to reflect, I think, this issue of transparency.
Good. Well, okay, now here's the thing. We had this lovely thing that happened with the ambition levels. We defined, somebody defined a lot of terms already. And it's almost a shame to throw that away.
I see, because here it's defined? Or,
no. Actually, you know what we can do? We can cut and paste. We can cut that ambition level and paste it over to the other one.
Which is pretty much just the hashtag defining. Yeah, okay.
So, and we should be able to pick up those. See, the definitions are automatic. Notice that. But it's done. It's rushed into the glossary and said, yeah, I'll give you those definitions.
Yay.
Okay. Yay. So now we can write the ambition level we really want. We can cut it. I would just cut to a blank ambition level.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And okay. So and then write anything you want about transparency. It
must be formed in a process available.
Okay. And then we need to make decisions whether we want to define open process and everyone and formalized.
Well, everyone's already defined, right? We got that.
Yep.
So do I need to hashtag those to make it?
You need to hashtag them to declare I want to define. Yeah. I think you'll find it will automatically make it a capital if you fail to at that level, but don't worry.
Anybody want to define inspectable? Or are you feeling good with the dictionary?
No, do we have a definition of inspectable?
We don't.
The normal. No, I think we ought to define what we mean by inspectable.
Okay.
And we also add the third word to be B. Must be formally.
Oh, thank you.
Right. Now, even the notion of formalized probably deserves a definition as an exercise.
Yeah.
Were you gonna tell us that, Ernest?
Yeah, I was just thinking that, like, yeah, well, what's formalized? Oh, well, we can even think about B, but no, we're not gonna go that rabbit hole.
So now we have the if in doubt, overdo it. Because the moment you have something that's not defined, people will have different definitions. Now we're forcing them to understand what we've decided we want them to understand. So it's real good.
Yeah, and I think the advantage of this tool is really shines here, which is that it sort of takes care of all the grunt work of giving you.
It does. It's got such a lovely design. I'm really proud of Richard Smith for doing this. So you actually, there's a lot more coming up of stuff like this where it does automatic stuff.
I gotta say, by the way, there's only 2 features that I would need to and I'll encode these in value objectives later, One
Yeah.
is a publish to web button. So once I've created it, I can have a URL I can share around that anyone can look at.
Right.
And the second is export to an open document format of some kind, whether it's
Okay,
Markdown
now
or AsciiDoc or whatever.
there are export facilities under more. Go up to more.
All right, more always gets hidden by my.
And it may be.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah, and it says here reports. There you go. So that gives you all specifications, and then there's a set of things called critical projections. You can export the glossary, and I think
Right, but
that
yeah.
exports,
So-
and you can choose
Right.
between Word and PDF.
Right. But I
No.
don't want a.
Yeah.
I want it in like some sort of structured document format.
Yeah, right. That we don't have now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. That's where I like that. I just have curiosity. What is this written in? You know?
I'm guessing C++, but I don't know.
Or C
Richard.
Sharp or C
knows.
or something like that.
Yeah, I think we can ask Richard anytime, but
I'm curious. Yeah.
I've asked him. I think the answer is C++, but
Really?
well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to look it up. Valplan app, see if I've recorded it. Valplan app. Let's see. Have I got anything? We're gonna have to ask Richard. An API to Zapier. He's got an API to Zapier.
Oh, yeah, but
And
that's
that can collect look at
everything
them.
can have an API to Zapier, so that doesn't.
So,
Right.
is this-
Okay.
Ernie, are you running this locally on your machine?
This is just a web browser.
Okay. All right.
Right.
So it's an online.
It's an online thing, so it's a web app of some kind. Where and it looks like it's got some amount of smart JavaScript in here for the editing features, but that doesn't tell us what they're using at the back end to manage all of it. But anyway.
Yeah, and something else that concerns me is that it feels like a database, right? That you can export things to PDF and even the web, but it's still the data it seems to be owned by this. You cannot export the source. Can we export the source? That's the ultimate.
Right. What we want to do is like, yeah, and I think the thing is, it's probably because it's being rendered as a data structure, like the source is just the SQL tables. And so having a serialization format where we can export it into something structured that can reconstitute it is an interesting exercise that I don't know if that's straightforward or a massive development project.
Right. Okay. Now remember, we've been mucking with this since about 2014.
Okay.
Can you hear? And okay, and there've been all kinds of noises made about export, and that's as far as we've gotten.
Right.
But let me. Okay, so I mean, it's nothing's impossible, but somebody has to motivate Richard with money.
That's the thing is I don't have money. That's why I was wondering what language was in if I could
Yeah.
motivate
No, I
with a
mean-
combination of coding skills.
Yeah. Okay. Now that's number one. We reached the point where he's done volunteer work. He's getting a certain small income from the licenses, but it's not huge.
Oh, wait, license. Oh, he licenses this tool to others.
Yeah. You can. That's right. You can pay a monthly subscription. You can get the first 3 months for free, actually, and then you start paying. And but anybody who wants to tell him to do something they want, they better have some pull. Like a corporate license would be impressive.
Well, that's one way to do it. Another way to just copy it. I mean,
you mean steal it? Steal his intellectual property?
Steve Jobs' definition of copying. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, she's actually stealing is better, right? Because copy means you take something that they already exist. Stealing means you make it your own, right? And that's the
okay.
Anyway,
let me
that's
tell
a
you,
different philosophical question.
Well, let me tell you about stealing. There is a future thing coming up here. Graphmetrics, I've talked to you about it before. The company graphmetrics.com.
I don't remember that, but let me
okay. And Ernie, you don't remember either?
I was busy typing. What were you saying? What was the statement?
Okay.
You used again?
So make a note, Graphmetrics with an X at the end, .com. And that is a company that I am an investor and advisor, and my son is a major co-owner and employee of. And what are they doing? They're building, right now they're building a solid platform. Berners-Lee's new.
Oh, that random invite we got.
Yes, that one. And so it's fairly advanced technology, but the thing is, it has this thing called syntactic triples.
Okay, is this RDF all over again?
Yes. And to make a long story short, we have a fairly firm intention of getting this Val plan on that, and probably by rewriting it. And now, by the way, at that point, you would have much more ability to export and import from anywhere to anywhere, because
Right.
that's the nature of the tool there. So,
Right.
and by the way, if one of you guys said, I volunteer to do that for Graphmetrics, you might get yourself the job.
Yeah.
Because we're not sure Richard wants to do it. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, my interests are more like in the open source realm, where you know, we just do it and people can use the tool however.
Right, because certainly it seems like at some point, if this is actually used as a governmental thing, having it as an open source rather than a vendor-controlled format and solution would be necessary.
We're up for that. We're up for that. My methods are open source, and this is built entirely on my methods. So okay, but right now, Richard has poured his voluntary soul for 6 years into this.
Yeah.
So we need to show it some respect, but we know that we're going with it to the you know, syntactic triplets, much more artificial intelligence, and a lot of things like that very shortly. That means within a year or two would be a definition of very shortly, not in 10 years. By the way, these definitions can be nested to any level. You can have definitions within definitions within definitions, but
yeah, and I'm thinking also of definition scopes or concept scopes. You know, like the scope of a document, the scope of a document set, the scope of
right. Let me tell you about that. There are, I think there are three. One is this particular project scope, call it local. Now, the moment, there's a scope of a specification. In other words, one of these big windows we're looking at. That's local. Now, the moment you want to move it up to the project scope, you use that little arrow and put it in your glossary. Then it applies to any specification in the project. That's level 2. Level 3, when you go up to the glossary, you'll see an option say, do you want to move this to the organizational level, the whole corporation? So you have definitions at organizational level, at project level, and at the level of a single, what I call a specification, a spec, which is like a requirement, a design, a stakeholder. Yeah, so you have reasonable control of whether you're going to reuse something or just keep it quite local.
Yeah, and then you like in software development, you gain things like completion. You know, if you're typing a word and it's always in the glossary, in my, you know, you can press escape and complete it. You know, we put the capabilities of source code editors into this language, so that people can take advantage of them. Not, you know, and you reduce typos, you reduce confusion because you operate from a common glossary.
Yeah, notice relating to that, notice this little note here, command E. And you might like to push the Command E button and see what happens.
Yeah, I think I
That's your word
accidentally.
processor.
Yeah, that's where I
That's-
got the
Yeah.
ordered list
It-
earlier.
Yeah, you got all kinds of
Ordered
things there.
list, yeah.
Not least, you can put in pictures quite easily, photographs, drawings, which is very nice sometimes.
I'd never seen that icon for erasing. I like that.
Okay, Richard
All right.
picked it up from somewhere, right?
Anyway, so this is my first cut. Maybe we'll go through this and then call it a day because it's been a long night
Okay.
for you and a long hour
Okay.
for us. And I'm
Right.
going to walk the dog soon. So let's see how people feel about this ambition level and these sub definitions. Anything people want to tweak?
Let's see. Okay, I gotta bring it towards my eyes. I've got a little laptop screen, not a gigantic screen in front of me. And let's see, decisions. Okay, okay. All decisions in the form of plain specifications or updates is required.
That's your definition, so I hope you like that.
Let's see, formalized, orderly defined process in order to mark certain decisions official and part of the permanent record. Okay. I have when I want to quibble, I have things I could add there, like, for example, according to a given standard. It would be a way of defining formally in what sense, to what formality, but so we could work on that, but I don't think it's important or critical to do that. But I just see right away that formalized is not referring to any particular formally defined process.
Yeah.
It could refer to language and its rules and processes, for example. Okay, anyway, expectable. And I've written a book called Software Inspection of 500 pages. So this is one of my favorite words. Everyone knows what the system is intended to do, has access. Now, it strikes me that that first phrase is not a definition of inspectable. Okay, it's a definition of intelligibility of intent. Inspectable means it is possible to inspect, and inspection usually means quality control against a certain standard. So let me just say that I'm not happy with the correspondence between the word inspectable and even the first phrase there.
Okay.
But now, but we have to, before we do anything, everyone knows what the system is intended to do. That's very important stuff. So I wouldn't want that to disappear in favor of ability to inspect. It's called intelligibility.
Decision before somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay. Inspectable. Actually, tell you what, if we go back to inspectable at the top and say intelligible to everyone, then I think we got what we really intended. And now by the way, you can cut or copy that, right, and that will disappear. So you can push a delete button and paste it into intelligible.
It's nice. It didn't delete that until after
It's very nice, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
So kind. Okay, then you
wait,
can just delete. It knows you intended to delete because it ain't there anymore. Yeah. Okay. Bingo. Right. So now we got what we really, more importantly, we got a good word up there in the ambition level, which is, the one more likely to be read by people. And I think that's what we all mean, right? Intelligible to everyone. Okay. Now, everyone knows what the system intended to do and has access to tools and data to verify filling the intent to any desire. Wow, that's a wonderful definition. Okay. So, and then everyone, each individual committee right now. Okay, right. And then, as I think but I'll just make it formal. The everyone is a hot link to the glossary.
Yeah. Well, I just love the fact that we defined everyone, so I don't have to keep qualifying what I mean each time.
Yeah.
I would tweet. It says each individual who is officially participating. I would say all individuals, or just.
Okay, then you have to.
The grammatical question is: everyone singular or plural?
Yeah, because
everyone they. It's plural. But if you want to change it, just click on the everyone hot link and go up and change it.
Are you logged into it anywhere? Ernest?
Uh, oh, what happened?
I can pop
We're
it.
going to the glossary.
Oh, we're going to what? Who's your glossary?
This is the
Oh,
glossary.
Oh,
This is the
the-
glossary for
glossary.
Datocracy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Committee.
yeah. And yeah, okay, now we can edit that.
Yes.
To satisfy your grammatical.
Yeah.
Yes.
And by the way, notice that committee is not written with a capital C, nor is it in hashtags. So we are not officially referring to our definition of committee.
Perhaps we should.
It's just, yeah, exactly. I mean, perhaps if we were absolutely meant to, then maybe we should.
I think since
Okay.
it's the committee, that's probably yes.
Bingo, bingo.
Okay.
See, notice it went and picked up the definition automatically
Yeah.
and put it right under, so it's very readable.
Yep.
It's well, I'm big on a thing called reuse.
Mhm,
Yeah, I mean this is
Or-
this is like writing software in that sense.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Goody. And decisions defined as, okay, and
Exactly, we're back there.
okay, yeah, okay. So we have a and while we were at the glossary, maybe you noticed at the top there was a little arrow saying share with organization. That's when you raise this to everybody in the organization on different projects can use this common terminology.
Right, and isn't
think
the
it's a great
organization, is that
idea.
is the organization for this the larger Datocracy project that you had? Or
Well,
was that actually guild.com?
okay. Yes. Right now, since we're playing around in my sandbox, guild.com, it refers to, it means guild.com would have access to all these definitions. But in practice, nobody cares. This is just a little playground. So at some point, we'll get ourselves a Datocracy private area, and that will be our organization.
Yeah,
And by the way, whatever work we've done here, we can move over to our Datocracy site when we're ready for that. Right now, we're just learning the ropes and deciding whether we want to play that game.
yeah. One of the interesting things that I realized, this feels a lot like a wiki, right? But it has a bit more fine-grained. Like in the olden days, you remember when wiki, you would just capitalize a word a certain way and it would show up as a wiki word with the hyperlink?
Yeah. That's that.
There's definitely some of that going on here.
Yeah.
But it's more fine-grained in a bit, in a sense, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and-
remember, Wiki has a very, I think, a relatively limited number of rules. I have somewhere between 100 and 400 things in language that are programmed into this. So there's actually a large quantity. It's like some things like Google tries to keep its interface extremely simple, just one little place. And Wiki probably was trying to keep things very simple.
Well, it's also different between a public tool and a corporate tool, right? If it's a tool for experts versus the tool for novices, right? Experts really need the fine degrees of specialization and precision, which gives them much greater control at the price of a steeper learning curve. So this is useful in that, like, I can say, okay, having this concept of what is this? This is a specification. Is that the right term for this?
Yes.
A specification and a series of definitions is that part's like enormously useful, and having a few key tags, like that part I understand, and being able to work at that level without understanding all the nuances is.
By the way, double click the blank right next to ambition level, move to the right, just click there. You see what happens? You're moving between a window and a one-liner. So what it does, it collapses the detail so that it becomes readable. And then whenever you want to go into detail, you just expand it. It's a beautiful little device.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
And by the way, if you go to the very top of the page, you'll find a thing for collapsing. See the extreme left above the big arrow. Yeah, those are collapse and expand arrows for the whole thing. So, in other words, when we want to present something briefly on one page, we collapse to one-liners.
Right.
And then and that allows us to present a page. And so anybody wants to discuss any one more detail, we just click on it and it opens up to maybe a 10-line window with all the detail, who did what to whom, and the comments and things like that. So it's a wonderful way of presenting at different levels to different people for different needs.
Right. Now, here's an interesting question, is that if I go into the development process objectives again,
Yes.
it'd be nice if I could see like all of these, like one level down, like the ambition level for each of these, so I kind of know what's going on. Is there an easy way to do that?
I'm not sure what you mean, see these one level down.
So like, so
But
here,
if you click, yeah.
okay. Okay.
If
Sorry,
you click on the consists of line, we're talking about that, consists
Yeah.
of. Well, if you click on any one of them, you get its window.
right. So it would be interesting, again, maybe this is a very idiosyncratic thing, right? Because I'm really focusing on this level of objectives, if I could sort of pop this open, I mean, this is a silly feature request, I'm not saying you should do this, but that I want to kind of know like, okay, when I see this thing, this is the ambition level. But I guess maybe there's a
That's an
report that might.
inspector. You ask for an inspector?
Maybe, yeah, or a
Hmm.
summary, right? Rather than just anyway. I think that the thing that's useful is that this is the unit of this is the kind of the, and this is not document centric, and I think that's important that I realize that it is these relational network of specifications. But when I think of this as a document, I have these objectives. And then I have these four sort of and this is a list of objectives and these four objectives, seeing kind of a summary of those four objectives somewhere I can look at them and say, okay, this is what I'm covering, this is what I'm not covering. I guess in theory, if you have the labels done intelligently enough, you don't need the ambition level to understand what's going on there.
Right.
Anyway, that's
Well-
more of just a random rant. It's not really any.
You might be talking about a scope definition or scope specification.
Well, I think the thing is right. Like I'm really trying to think at this level with having information about the sub levels. And right now, the best way to do that is to click into each of them individually.
That's right. Right now it is. If you absolutely wanted to have it there, it's you could just type it into the ambition level. I mean, the ambition level is supposed to be the summary of those four. So open the ambition level for this here, down here, open that one.
Mhm.
Right. Now, there's nothing to stop me writing 4 sentences, one for each of those four.
Right, but then it's
right
not going to be
here.
out of sync, right? That's the danger of that.
That's right, because this is just
Yeah.
a word
Is there
processor.
a way to do a report where I can just say, print me this specification and all its sub specifications? Is that a thing?
Yes, there is. I'll give you an example. If you go to edit on the level line, go to edit. Right.
Here?
Yeah, right. Okay. Actually, it's already done. You see, it says critical there.
Mhm.
Okay. Now go up to the more and go down to the reports and critical objectives. Bingo.
This is what I was looking for.
Okay. I was
Sorry,
beginning
right,
to
'cause
suspect that. Yeah.
So this is the type level one, and these are the.
I have a joke with my clients. I say, within one day, we'll get your top 10 quantified and put onto one page. And they don't believe it. And by the end of the day, we regularly do exactly this, and it blows their mind that you can quantify in detail, 5 or 10 objectives and get them on one single page for management overview with all that detail. That blows their mind.
Yeah. Okay, my brain is full. I think I want to call it a night and let you eat your dinner if you haven't
Okay.
already.
I've finished my dinner, but I'm going to watch television with my wife and be social.
That's good.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Have some ice cream.
All right, so this time
Oh,
slot
lucky.
next week, how's that look for you, Tom?
Yeah. Let's see. The problem is that things crop up,
Right,
after
you've got
I
a
said
life,
yes.
you've got a family. That's a very good thing. So we're
Yeah.
going to pencil this in for now. I think just like
Yeah.
this is the slot.
Well,
we're
here, let
hoping for.
me give you here. What is it? 5th today. So Friday the 12th. Friday the 12th is available now. So claim the space, and I'll try and keep it.
Okay. And, my
and-
schedule is usually pretty flexible. So if you want to meet
Yeah.
an hour earlier, an hour later, let us know, and we'll
Yeah.
we'll,
Yeah.
wing it. But yeah, I have
Yeah.
this on my calendar. Like, this is my Datocracy slot. So if you're available, we'll meet then, and if you're not,
Yeah.
let us know, we'll flex.
Yeah.
All right.
No, this is any time around here is okay. My wife's favorite hobby on Friday is to watch her. There's a favorite. The best television time of the week is Friday night for her. Her favorite programs. So I can watch those programs later if I want to, but I can also sneak away and she's happy for an hour or two.
Happy wife is we should put that as a top objective. At least for me, that's the critical limiting factor in my involvement in Datocracy. So
I've been working on it for 60 years. I'm doing pretty well.
Okay, when you can quantify the value objectives for that, let me know. We'll spend an hour on it.
Yeah.
You better believe I can.
The question is it quantum that if you tell her what the value objectives are, does that ruin them?
Well, you'll get an argument from my wife no matter what I do there.
Okay.
That's her job, I guess.
Okay, on that note, I will call it a day. Thank you all very much.
My
Thank you,
pleasure.
Tom. Thank you, Ernie.
Good night, everyone.